Yo, Steele Altmyer here. Welcome to the Real Steele Pod, episode 1. Who else better to have than my dad, Chad Altmyer? So we get into upbringing, early beginnings at Laurel High School, going to Mississippi College, playing 2 sports, and also balancing that with med school, and then transitioning to being the team doctor at Mississippi State, and all those interesting stories as well, and all the trials and tribulations he had to go through to get to this point here, and also the formula for success. So be sure to like, comment, subscribe, leave us just any engagement that you want to leave us, to try to progress this podcast, and let's watch it grow together. So let's get into episode 1. All right, Steele Altmyer here. Welcome to the Real Steele Pod, episode 1. We got a special guest today, the one, the only, my dad, Chad Altmyer here. We're just going to get into some things. What Real Steele Pod does, we get into just kind of their stories and how we can kind of apply our stories to his by just trials and tribulations, kind of what separated him in his field, and also just his story in general. And we'll also get into some quick hitters as well. So just kind of starting it off, early beginnings, Laurel, Mississippi, Laurel High School tornado, just kind of how was your experience there, academics and athletics, in general?
I think, first of all, it's an honor to be in episode 1.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Congratulations.
I appreciate it.
I hope it works out well. And starting in the game room.
Yeah.
With the basketball goal behind us and the John Wooden poster behind us.
Yeah, great setup.
We couldn't ask any better.
Yeah.
But I think with anything, you go back all the way to high school, with anyone's foundation or their success story, it starts somewhere. And I think it starts with probably your upbringing, your parents, your grandparents, your coaches, your people that you really listened to or focused on when you were young, and who you put your stock into. We were talking about stocks earlier today, money, building stock.
Right.
Well, you can put stock in things other than just the stock market.
Right.
You can put stock into your church or your youth group or your coaches or your parents or your grandparents or are good role models, and I think that's where it starts. And then you start setting goals, whether they be small goals like I want to make an A in history, or whether they be long-term goals that I want to play basketball in college, or I want to be a successful businessman. So that's where it starts. That's how it started with me in Laurel, and I think the biggest thing for me was I started with just driven to do good in school and give myself opportunities at the next level. My parents were real strict on that because my dad was in the landscape business and my mom was an interior designer, and they knew that decisions mattered at a young age, and they had those decisions had consequences at the next level for college, or at the next level for med school, or at the next level for whatever you're going to play or do or be. So
right.
That's where it started for me.
So you talked about academics and how strong you had to be in academics because of your parents. Like, how did you kind of apply that to athletics, to that same work ethic, that same drive that you had in the classroom?
And you can do a whole podcast on this. It's very hard in high school. Obviously, you've been through it. Witt's going through it now. Luke's going through it. But it's hard if you make straight. I remember I got called a nerd. I mean, you're on the basketball team. You're the only guy that has straight A's, and everybody else is, well, that's not the cool thing to have straight A's.
Yeah.
Okay, it's kind of hard to figure out, hey, this is what I really want to do, and you can overcome some of those not prejudice. That's not the right word, but some of those stigmas that don't fit in. That you're not the cool kid if you make straight A's.
Yeah.
Back then, I don't know, maybe now, I don't know. Back then, you really weren't that cool if you were in the AP class, you were an athlete. Now hopefully that's changed over time with education. I'm sure it has. But so that was kind of hard, but I just figured out that I wanted to do it, and I felt like I could do it, and then I was kind of self-motivated to do it in school, in high school, and made good grades, and gave myself an opportunity to go into a good college with a lot of scholarship money, and that helped me take the next step.
Yeah, you kind of just pivoted towards our next topic, which was Mississippi College, just getting to Mississippi College and, academic scholarships and athletic scholarships, what have you. Just talk about that decision to try to, get to that level. Mississippi College was a D3 school at the time.
D2.
Excuse me, D2.
Be careful, you're going to get in trouble.
Yeah, get in trouble, and I go there. But anyways, D2. How did, just talk about that transition and going to there.
Well, obviously, you're in high school, athletics is probably a big part of
It's more
what you want to be. You know, everybody thinks they're going to play sports at the highest level, and you know, like, what's that commercial on TV? 2% of people play real pro sports. So, but even if you're playing D2, you still want to be the best you can be. So, you know, I obviously coming out of high school, I wanted to be a college athlete. You know, that was a big deal for me. Whether and obviously my dream back then, because there was no social media, there were no cell phones.
Yeah, that's
was to play in the state of Mississippi for Mississippi State, and obviously I didn't get that opportunity. I just wasn't quite probably good enough to play SEC ball back then, but did have the opportunity to play Division II ball at Mississippi College, which I was very, very happy I went to. Great school. I'm gonna plug that place. You know.
Oh yeah. For sure.
You know, I'm on the board of trustees.
Yeah, board of trustees, Mississippi College.
Love that school.
Yes,
but and then it just so happened that I was able to play there, but it also was kind of the best, and still is, probably the best science program in Mississippi for acceptance into medical school. So it kind of, luckily, I didn't know that. Man, people talk about God's will or God's plan. Sometimes you don't even know it's happening. Yeah. But I was able to kill two birds with one stone there without even knowing it.
Right.
Great academics for medical school. Yeah. And
also
do what I love.
Yeah, continuing your athletic career. So
awesome.
Yeah, just talk about, like you just touched on medical school, like what was the thought process into going into that, and like how long ago did it, like was it before high school, like right in college when you decided to take that path? You know,
that's a great question. I'm not sure still if I know what I want to be. No. I'm 52 and I'm not still sure. I'm not sure I know what I'm going to be, or if I'm grown up yet. But, you know, back in the day, if you made good grades, and again, this is before social media, you have to start thinking, you're asking me questions when there were no cell phones.
So it's different.
There was only a newspaper. There was no 24-hour news media. Right. There was barely, I don't even know if ESPN started back then. I think it was close. But so people that did really well in school kind of were like, hey, why don't you be a doctor? And I was like, I don't want to be a doctor. Look at our dog. But why do I want to be a doctor? My dad's a landscape, good business. We were great at, you know, putting irrigation systems and stuff. And then my family kind of said, well, you should do that. My granddad was a vet, so I got kind of interested in that and taking care of animals with him. Of course, I did the grunt work. And then when I got in med, I said, okay, I'll major in pre-med. Well, it's really the only major that challenged me. Yeah. I mean, it kept me from being bored, I'll be honest. I'm a really high-strung person, as you know. And so it kept me from being bored. So at first, I'll be honest with you, I just did it because I could. I didn't really even anticipate going to medical school. I was just living for
going along
the day, you know, the week, the month, the semester, having a good time in college and playing sports, and it just starts parlaying on itself. Right. And you do good in biology, and then biochemistry, and then histology, and then structure, and then genetics, and all of a sudden you look up and you graduate, or you fix to graduate, and you realize, oh my goodness, what do I do next? Right. And I guess what next was apply for medical school. Right. Because that's all I knew. That's all I knew what to do, was either apply for medical school or go back and work in my landscape nursery business with my family. And about that time, you know, I had some tragedy in the family, and Dad died in a car wreck, so it was a real decision of, hey, med school or that, and luckily I stayed with it, you know, but that's kind of where that came about. Yeah,
like before we get to that next stage, like how did you, because you said you did play athletics there and continue your athletic career, how do you, like for all these people watching, how did you balance academics with that strenuous schedule with athletics, playing two sport athlete people? So
two sports. You know, Coach Jones was hard on me too, so if he ever sees this, I laugh at that, but you know him well. Yeah. He was Steele's coach too in college, my college coach. But, you know, it's very interesting. I sometimes think about that, and that's one of the things I'm proud of, and I don't know how I did it, I'm going to be honest, because you play college sports.
I have a perspective on it too now. I don't know how you did it.
You know how demanding it is.
Absolutely.
Okay, no matter if you're at SEC school or a mid-major or Division II, it's all demanding as a college athlete. You have to be present, you have to work out, it's a year-round thing. So it was hard. When I look back on it, I don't know how I did it. In fact, it was so funny when I went to MC. I told them I was going to play baseball and basketball. They told me there's no way you can even play one
Right.
sport
Mm-hmm.
and be in pre-med. I
Yeah.
said, yes, I can. And so the first 2 years of my MC Mississippi College career, I didn't play basketball because my advisors, my scholarship was in some in baseball, some in academics. They wouldn't allow it. And then when I had a 4.0 all the way through, then they were like,
"You can do it.
Let's see if he can do it." So then that's when I started, with the basketball team, which I thoroughly enjoyed. But for some part of me, it just keeps me from getting bored. So I was able to do all of that.
Always occupied.
I was good at time management, and I was able to recall stuff that I read. I didn't have to study a ton, so I had a good memory, blessed with that. And then I was pretty good at sports, so I could keep two coaches happy too.
Yeah.
I remember when I was playing basketball, the baseball coach wanted us to lose quick, so he wouldn't go deep so I could get on the baseball team.
Right.
So it was hard keeping two coaches happy. I think about those two sport athletes now, like football and baseball. It's pretty hard to balance that. You don't see it much anymore.
Yeah, just from listening to you balancing that stuff, it goes back to what we just previously talked about, like the groundwork your parents laid out, just being a hard worker, just being locked into what you have to do, and you can kind of see it back in your college days in a way, to manage time and focus on the right things.
Yeah, I think there's a formula for success, and if each person's formula is different. And I've learned that through even my house, my wife Betsy, who your mom. He says everybody didn't think like me, and at first I had a hard time with that. I thought everybody should be like me, but everybody's not. So you have to find your formula, whatever your formula for success was. But my formula was basically in school was basically time management, and if I time managed, which means I didn't waste a bunch of foolish time. Again, we didn't have cell phones, so only thing on TV was like Gomer Pyle and Arsenio Hall shows, so there wasn't a lot to watch on TV, so it was a little easier to manage your time.
Right.
But manage your time and being disciplined, you could pretty much do what
less
you
distractions too with social
without
social media. Yeah, different distractions for sure.
Different. I mean, there's always distractions, whether it be college distractions. They're all the same.
Right.
Still the pretty girls are there.
Yeah.
The opportunities to get in trouble are there. But but if your formula is time management and then discipline, you can pretty much get what you want to do in college.
Right.
What you want. Now, if you don't, then I always used to say academics is a third, social is a third, and athletics is a third. You can be good at 2 out of the 3.
Right.
Pretty hard to be good at all 3.
Yeah.
So you can be good at academics, you can be good at social, but your athletics, you're not.
There's no way to put your time equally to all
it's
those
very
things.
hard to be good at all 3.
Right.
So I was pretty good at academics, obviously, and then athletics worked extremely hard, but sometimes socially, I can go out and party or hang out on Thursday night. I was studying for a test, or
on the road.
On the road, I had to read instead of stay up late playing cards or something.
Right.
So some of that, something's got to sacrifice.
Yeah, something's got to.
I felt like some of that was social sometimes.
Yeah. So after your successful athletic career and academic career at MC undergrad, you move on to medical school. So just kind of talk us through that decision. That's a big step, big leap for anyone. Like how did you manage to hey, I'm going to go do this, even though you did say you had a 4.0? Like how did you get to that point of saying I'm going to do this?
Well, again, every stage of life has a beginning and an end. So every time you reach a end, you better have a new beginning, or you'll just be sitting there spinning in a circle with like wet wheels and wet mud. So as my college career had, the beginning was school and sports, it had an end, and I'm like, what am I going to do?
What's next?
What's next for me? And when you get to the end of your college career and you play sports, you either try to make a living playing a sport, or you get a job. Or you go into another set of school. Right. So we chose to go into, I applied for medical school, took my MCAT, did well, and then interviewed for medical school and then got accepted. And so I said, well, I guess this is my new beginning. in medical school. And people, sometimes I laugh, but medical school to me was not as hard because I was so already good at time management from being an MC and playing 2 sports.
Right.
So medical school, again, it's not hard, it's just volume. In other words, it's like...
It's more condensed, sort of?
Shoot, man, it's like...
It's more condensed
whereas you study 10 pages in college, you're studying 110 pages in medical school. So it's like, I used to tell people, it's like, you like to eat steak, but you got to eat 10 pounds of steak every night. It isn't really good.
Right.
But that was medical school, but it was all, again, it was time management.
Yeah, just applying what you have.
Time management. And I was pretty good at that already, so that was made medical school a little bit easier for me because I was disciplined and had time management. And that's where people struggle when they first go to medical school. It might not be as good at discipline, or they may not be as quite as good at time management.
Right.
Because every minute matters. You don't have time to waste. Because if you get behind, it just staggers on itself, and you really get, start slacking in some grades in medical school.
Right.
Luckily, I was able to do well with that, or already had a good base for that, or a formula.
Right.
Like we said, the formula.
So what would you say were some big obstacles during medical school? Like, was it just like the competition of competing against those other talented scholars, or was it against like other things, like other variables?
That's a good question. So you're going to be good at this one day. I think every time you move up, and I've seen this with y'all, Luke, every time you move up another step into something, you didn't realize there was that many good people at that thing. It's like when you went to MC to play basketball, Division II, you're like, this isn't a joke, man. Yeah. These guys can ball.
They can play.
So it's the same thing with Luke when he goes to the college, and I can't imagine if you go pro, because I never know how good somebody could be. But it's the same thing with medical school. Everybody's smart, or everybody was a 4.0, or everybody was, valedictorian, or everybody was good. So you're just not used to that, because if 100 people come into medical school and they're all the best person from their school. There's only one that's number 1 in there, and somebody's number 100, and everybody's still good. They say, what's the last person to graduate from medical school? He's a doctor. The one that's the lowest is still a doctor. So, that was it was hard for me just getting used to that competitiveness at the academic level. I was used to it in athletics, but it was the same. I mean, it was cutthroat, like, man, it's like playing a dang Super Bowl. That was that cutthroat in medical school and academics. It was everybody wanted to be the best. So it's very hard with that many good, intelligent people.
How did you deal with that, like not always comparing yourself to those other 99 people and just focusing on your race, running your race and just focusing on yourself in a way?
It was hard not to get caught up in that, because obviously if you're competitive, you want to be the best.
You be number 1.
So so it was very hard. But I was still balanced in medical school, and I didn't really, academics always came so easy to me that I didn't just focus 100% on being number 1 in medical school. Whereas I try to be the best always in athletics. So when I got there, to me it was a little less pressure than more pressure. And some of my classmates didn't know how to take that. They were really, it was really funny. I would leave at 5 o'clock. They'd get to go to the gym and play basketball or something, and no one would understand why I did that. But so I kind of enjoyed medical school and didn't get caught up in all the competitiveness of academics. I mean, it was hard not to get in some of it, and we still had intramural sports there and things like that. It kept me preoccupied with other things than just academics. But it is a definitely competitive market, for sure.
Yeah, so you managed to get through medical school. How many years? Like
4 years.
4 years. 4 years after undergrad. And then you move on, graduate from there, per se, and you go to Mississippi State, team doctor, and then you also move here to Columbus, Mississippi, another new beginning.
You skipped a little bit, didn't you?
For
all you people out there. You skipped residency, which was 6 years after medical school, before moving to be a team doctor, or team physician, or an orthopedic surgeon. So you do a residency in your specific field, which whether it be dermatology or plastic surgery or pathology or
neurosurgery
or pediatrics or internal medicine or any of those different fields. So residency came, which included getting married, which included having 3 kids.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of
variables.
water under the bridge from
Yeah.
medical school to Columbus and taking care of, you know, high level athletes. But residency was quite a beginning with a long, hard trials and tribulations in between, all the while being married and having kids. So it was, those were some good times, but also tough times. But also made some of the best friends of my life, you know, during those struggles.
Yeah. So would you say, like, what made you want to pick like the orthopedic surgeon, bone doctor route, other than like maybe going the neurosurgeon route or going to any other, you know, medical route?
That's a great question again.
Like, what separates this field that made you more interested in choosing that than another field?
You know, again, it was really funny. And this is being true. Academics came fairly easy for me.
Right.
And at the end of the process of medical school, I was at the top. Again, in my class, you know, they call it AOA, which is a club that's in the top, I think it's the top 10% or top 5%, I can't remember. So coming into the 3rd year, 4th year, I was like, I don't know what I want to do. Again, like I said, I'm 52, I'm not sure, I just know what I want to do now. But so the hardest thing to get into, guess what it was?
What you did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Orthopedic surgery.
Do it the hard way.
And so all my classmates were like, hey, you should be an orthopedic surgeon. I'm not even sure I knew what an orthopedic surgeon was. My second, third year of medical school. And I had my classmates, you need to be an orthopedic surgeon, you fit the model, blah, 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 blah. You played sports, you're a jock, you're, you know, half crazy, whatever. But I was like, well, I guess I'll do orthopedic surgery. You know, I had put myself in a position at the top of the class to have an opportunity to do orthopedic surgery,
right? Which
is where people were, and I think they still are. I don't know. This was back in 1994, 98, to proceed into that field. So I started looking at it, and I still wasn't sure I wanted to do it. I really wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I thought I may even do medicine. I don't know. I just kind of playing the game and really wasn't too caught up on any of those fields. And again, I think that's where sometimes things are happening in your life that you don't really know, that you're not in control of, and then they
come to fruition a little bit.
Yeah. So I think that's what happened there. And so I said, I'll do orthopedic surgery. And I just kept moving into these different phases based on where I had positioned myself to have the opportunity.
Right.
And obviously back then that was a lucrative field, and you did have the opportunity to operate on people. So when I got into it a little bit, it was pretty cool because I'm a very instant gratification guy.
Yeah.
And in orthopedics, you can see some instant gratification fixing people. It's like your broke leg, you can get it fixed.
Yeah.
Luke's broke arm, we can get it fixed, and you can get back to yourself. So it had some immediate satisfaction, which I probably needed to keep me interested.
Yeah. So you talk about residency. Now we get to maybe some more like interesting topics, maybe for the viewers, getting to be the team doctor for Mississippi State, and also, you know, running partial owner of a clinic in Columbus, Mississippi. Like those are 2 big steps too. Like going to a small town of Columbus, Mississippi, and then also balancing Mississippi State sports medicine. Like that's a big step as well.
Yeah,
so
that was a great time. So I got close to the end of my residency at Campbell Clinic in Memphis, Tennessee, and then again, now you're really at the end of a big step, and you're like, I really got to go to work. I'm 32 years old. I've never had a job. And now you're like, oh, this is serious now. What am I going to do?
Yeah.
Oh man! So I interviewed several places and felt like I connected with the guys in Columbus really well. Rusty Linton, Dr. Ray, Charlie Ray, Scott Jones, and they like to hunt, they like to fish, they like to work really hard, take care of a lot of people, and so again, you had that balancing act there that kept me interested and kept me from getting bored by working extremely hard, but also get to hunt, fish, play, take care of athletes. So it fit me, and so I came to Columbus, didn't know a soul, Beth's your wife. I mean, my wife, your mother. We weren't from here, so we moved here with you and Luke. Luke was 1.
Yeah.
You were 2.5. So another challenging time, but it was a great decision, and we succeeded to build a really incredible orthopedic clinic, and something to be very proud of. And in there, I had the privilege of being able to assist with Mississippi State athletics that Dr. Linton allowed me to be a part of. So, and also allowed y'all to be a part of.
Yeah, no doubt.
Some incredible memories for you guys.
For sure.
Some incredible athletes that we took care of, you got to know, and some incredible games and wins and losses.
Yeah.
We just all the while creating a good story for an orthopedic surgeon that's trying to take care of his family. So it was good. It was good. A lot of good memories there. A lot of good athletes I remember.
You're talking about good athletes, good memories. Like, what are some memories in the athletes maybe you've seen, or like just some stories, really some interesting stories that stuck with you to this day that maybe you could share?
Oh, there are a ton of them. I mean, obviously the ones I remember the most are usually, unfortunately, injuries.
Yeah, injuries. Mm-hmm.
And there are quite a few from having an open tibia fracture in the egg bowl.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Guy cuts on they had turf at Ole Miss then, and it's probably 08 or something.
I was thinking Brandon McCray.
Yeah.
I was thinking Tyson Lee was.
Yeah, I think Tyson was quarterback. Yeah, that's right.
That.
Yeah, that's way back.
Lost 45-0.
Yeah, we did lose 45-0.
I remember that.
I was glad to leave in the second quarter to go take care of Brandon and fix his leg. And then, of course, Nick Fitzgerald's injury, which everybody remembers, high-profile injury, fracture dislocation. And then if you remember Elgin Bailey, you still Google it, he dislocated his foot on a basketball court. Mm-hmm. Subtalar dislocation, we carried him off, fixed him. So a lot of those are things that you remember well, but the other things you remember are just the good times in the locker room. People like Dak Prescott, Jeffrey Simmons, and Charles Rhodes. I mean, some really cool people. Hansborough, Ben Hansborough, they played here under... I don't know what year that was.
Stansbury.
Stansbury. This was Stansbury. And his brother was Tyler. He was so well known at North Carolina. But I remember those days, and we just named so many of them. But just great. Even baseball with Mangum, and even before then, I mean, such good players. Good people. Those are good memories.
And also, you're getting to see other athletes they're playing against that are, top of the line.
Oh, yeah.
Getting to see all those guys.
Tebow.
Yeah.
Coming in like a rock star.
Yeah.
I remember Erin Andrews was on the sideline. We were sitting there talking. I didn't realize she went to Florida. Mm-hmm. So we were sitting there talking. I said, well, and this is when the game when Jonathan Banks picked off Tebow twice. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So we had 2 pick sixes in that game.
That's crazy.
And so we were close. We never really got close to winning the game, but we were at halftime. I think we were within 4 points. And I was talking to Erin. I said, Erin, who are you rooting for? And she looked at me like didn't know what I was talking about, because I didn't know she went to Florida. And she was like, "Well, I'm for Florida." It felt kind of silly when I asked her that. So silly stories like that, but it's. Getting to see those players, Johnny Manziel, my goodness, he was good.
Yeah.
I think they beat us 55-10 that day when he came to Mississippi State, Johnny football. But and countless others, Cam Newton and Heisman winners, Joe Burrows. Recently, but also basketball. I mean, we lost I covered the game. Derrick Rose in Memphis. Yeah. Beat us in Little Rock.
Anthony Davis. I was at that game. That was a crazy game.
Carl Towns. I mean, so many.
List goes on.
Anytime you play Kentucky, but with some really incredible players. It's SEC.
Yeah, it don't get much better than that. So
no, it doesn't get any better.
Well, when you're talking about working at Columbus Orthopedic and also being in sports medicine at State, what were some of the most rewarding things? Would it just be kind of more the relationship side of things, or what was kind of the most rewarding thing of both of those experiences?
There's a couple of things rewarding. One was just being with your family and good memories, good stuff. what more wholesome fun is there than sports, you know, college sports, you know. So, and you get to enjoy that, and you can enjoy that at MC, you can enjoy that in junior college, you can enjoy it at any level, but we got to enjoy it at the SEC level, which was really, really fun. But I think rewarding was, you know, when you see a player, well, even if it's a soccer athlete or a track athlete or tennis athlete that you really, you know, you helped and you saw them climb back up there and do really well, you know, whether operating on Jeffrey Simmons or operating on Dak or Tyler Russell or Tyson, helping Tyson or any of those guys, you know, or baseball players as well. Jeff Butts, I remember he SEC baseball tournament MVP when we won in Hoover, and this was probably 05, 06, and I had fixed him, and it was pretty cool to see him get that and see them celebrate. I'll never forget that. But that's going way back. Omar Connor, who's a quarterback under Crew, great friend of mine, you know, taking care of him. He's a kid out of Knoxville, but there's tons of them. But that was rewarding, the relationships, and still having them. You know, if I see Dak today, it'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, even like when we go to eat and stuff, like not everybody, but like people will just go like, hey, my so-and-so's doing well, and like it's been great. And I know that's pretty rewarding to kind of hear as well. So
yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. It does. The older I get, the more it means.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Because you've seen them, like, not necessarily a dark place, but when they were hurting the worst, and then now they're at a better place. So,
no doubt.
And you're a big part of it.
For sure. It's rewarding. I guess it's humbling to be put in that position to be able to help. It means a lot.
All right. Capital Offer is going to do some quick hitters. So, one question that probably the audience wants to know are some top athletes that you have done some surgeries on to kind of get their careers back where they needed to be.
We kind of mentioned some of them.
Yeah. Obviously the big one.
Yeah. Dak Prescott, Jeffrey Simmons, A.J. Brown, took care of him in high school at Starkville High. Loved taking care of him. Some from Ole Miss, Shea Hodge, who people know from Mississippi, is a great receiver.
There was another receiver too.
Parade Jerry was the guy I operated on from Ole Miss. It was superstar, played for the Atlanta Falcons for a long time. I think he's from South Panola. Worked on him. And
Vincent Sanders? Did you do Vincent?
Yeah, Vincent Sanders. I forgot about Vincent.
I thought I heard you talk about that one.
Just took care of him not too long ago. Great guy. He's also from Knoxville. Gosh, you forget. There's tons of Winston Frazier. Like I said, Elgin Bailey. I mean,
did you do Rodney Hood?
I did not. No, I didn't operate on Rodney Hood.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
I remember
I did Romero Osby, who was one of my favorite people of all time. Played here and went to Oklahoma's Big 12
Player of the Year.
Player of the Year.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I coached his little brother now, Kedrick Osby. So great guys. But yeah, I mean, what was the shooter? Barry.
I know you're talking about number 24. I can see him now.
Yes, played with Romero and Jarvis.
Bernardo.
Bernardo. Took care of Bernardo.
Yeah.
Taking care of Bernardo. Block leader. Jamont Gordon.
Yeah. He was good. He's a good player.
What's Barry's name? I love that guy. He could shoot that.
Yeah, let us know. Let us know in the comments if you got that. If you get the name.
I can't believe I've gone. I'm sorry, but I just D-Boss, of course.
Yeah, the list goes on and on. Yeah, for sure.
But a lot of good people.
Yeah.
You know, and female and women basketball players too. Took care of a ton of those. When Coach Vic Schaefer was there. And,
they were good.
Great guy. His daughter Holly. So yeah, a lot of good athletes.
All right. So what would you say your favorite meal is? Dream meal. We know you're a foodie. If y'all didn't know, he's a foodie. He likes to, he likes to eat.
It'd have to be a good steak.
Good steak.
Medium rare, New York strip. You know that. That's
baked potato.
Just give me the meat, baby.
Oh,
give me the salad, the meat, and the mushrooms.
Yeah, I knew the answer to that for sure. Oh, favorite place to travel?
Favorite place to travel? Mossy Lake.
Mossy Lake.
Duck Hunting Club.
Yeah, I should have known.
That's not a very far travel. No. I get a long way. I like Canada.
Yeah,
go to Canada and hunt every year.
Yeah,
love that. Yeah. Very relaxing. It's something I enjoy.
Okay, so NBA moves. We've been talking about free agency. Bradley Beal going to the Suns. Like, what do you think your team?
We can have a podcast on the NBA.
We can get
love
to that.
NBA.
Yeah. Thoughts as a
Little
Celtics fan.
early to see what's going to happen. We'll know in the next, I guess, 2 or 3 weeks, won't we, in July? But
Yeah,
very interested to see what Jaylen Brown does.
yeah, for sure. Well,
Obviously, being a huge Celtic fan, that is going to be interesting.
Yeah.
But I don't love the Bradley Bill of the Suns. Other people love it.
yeah,
Some of my good friends that
we'll see.
really love it. I don't love it. I think it's not enough balls for those 3 players.
Mhm.
They needed some enforcers, better rebounders,
Right.
some dogs.
Right.
Let Booker and Durant do what they do, but it may work out.
Yeah.
Not that I'm right every time, but
Right. Yeah, jury's out. We'll have to see how that goes.
I like those players.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
love
no
Booker
doubt.
and Bradley Bill.
Mm.
Good guys. I wish them well.
All right, final question. It's kind of a difficult question, but what would you say one word? What word would you describe your journey up to this point? Like, what word, if you can put your finger on one word, what would you describe that word? Like your whole journey leading up to this point.
I think that's the easiest question you've given me.
Really?
I say blessed.
Bless. Okay.
Just been lucky and blessed. That's 2 words.
Lucky and blessed. Well,
Yeah.
that's a good way to put it. That's gonna cap it off. Episode 1, Real Steel Pod. Who else better to have on than my dad right here, Chad Altmyer? Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you episode 2.